Today on Our Ottawa, a phenomenal flutist from Ottawa makes her performance debut at the NAC, part of their Rising Stars series. Country music stars Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood in the nation's capital. We get your reviews.
I'm Ian Black out on the Spark Street Mall enjoying some beautiful sunshine. Coming up, your weather photos.
And Bonnie and her 21 children, the story of an extraordinary couple who adopted many children from different cultural backgrounds. Hi, I'm Adrian Harewood, and this is Our Ottawa. A new classical music series was introduced this season at the National Arts Centre called Rising Stars, My First NAC. They're free concerts presented by Maestro Alexander Shelley, where a showcase of exceptional next-generation artists perform beautiful music. In February, a talented Ottawa-born flutist, Lindsay Bryden, was featured, performing a collection of works from Bartok to Copeland, accompanied by local pianist Jean Desmarais. The concert was recorded and will be broadcast nationally on CBC Radio 2's In Concert next week. Lindsay, now based in London, is an avid chamber and orchestral musician. She returned to Canada this summer as principal flutist for l'Orchestre de la Francophonie. Will also participate in the National Arts Centre's Young Artist Program. And I'm pleased to have Lindsay Bryden here with me in studio. Welcome.
Thank you.
Lindsay, how did you come to play the flute?
Well, when I was 7, I was at the Glebe Montessori School, and a woodwind quintet actually came, and I became obsessed with the sound of the flute. And after school, I got in the car with my mom, and I said, "Mom, it was a great day at school. Can I get a flute?" "No." And I begged every single day after school for 2 years, until I just annoyed her to the point that in October, when I was 9, she ended up bringing it when I was at my grandma's house, and I ended up practicing it for a few hours, and I had my first lesson the next day.
What do you think captivated you about the sound of the flute? What was it?
I'm not certain. I think maybe as a kid, in a way, it was, oh, look at that really shiny instrument that person is doing. I think it was mostly the versatility as well that kind of captivated me, except I didn't know what that word was yet at the age of 7.
And did practice come easily to you? Because I played piano as a kid, and I think my mom always had to remind me to play. Were you one of those kids, or were you self-directed?
For the most part, I was self-directed, although I would once in a while have to be pushed by my parents. But in my last year of high school, I ended up practicing for almost 9 hours every day because I knew that my technique wasn't quite good enough to be able to get me into a conservatory. So before school, I would wake up really, really early. I would practice for a couple hours before orchestra practice, and then I would practice in between all my lessons during my lunch hour, and then for a few more hours when I got home from school. So I got there.
You eventually made the move to London. You call home. London is now your home.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to kind of move across the proverbial pond?
Well, when I was 13, I went to my first master class abroad. I went to Scotland, and when I was there, I met a lot of professors of flute from the UK conservatories, and I found that their style of teaching, their style of playing were all things that I wished to emulate and to work with.
What made it different? What made their approach different?
Well, in a way, it was the way that they went in terms of interpretation. They were very technique-based as well, which was fantastic. And I also have always had a very large sound. I've got a lot of wind. It was a way for me to be able to have my own sound and my own interpretation and my own musical ideas come through, even with the direction of a professor. So that was when I decided that I really wanted to go to the UK.
When you have a lot of wind and you're playing a wind instrument, is that something that you have to learn how to control? Can it become a little bit excessive?
Yeah. Well, the thing that I always try to get my students to understand is that it's not so much about being able to control the intake of breath as the exhalation, because you have to be able to fill up completely. You need to have nice deep breaths. The flute, though, is one of the most difficult wind instruments to play in terms of breath capacity because only about 20% of the air actually goes into the instrument. So you need to have probably more air than playing the tuba.
You recently performed at the NAC as part of the Rising Stars series. Can you talk about that performance?
Well, it was a fantastic opportunity to be able to play at the NAC. I've played as a pre-concert recitalist a few years ago, but it was a much different experience to be able to play in the foyer, which surprisingly has great acoustics. And it was fantastic to see such a great audience, and also to meet Alexander Shelley. In a way, Alexander Shelley has become kind of like the pop star of artistic directing kind of thing. But in terms of the program, each of the pieces represented different milestones in my own musical development. So it was fantastic to be able to present this for people in my hometown, as well as to hopefully be able to get a greater depth of audience.
What gives you the most satisfaction when you play?
Feeling like I'm able to connect to the audience and to be able to portray different characters and emotions. I also really enjoy speaking at my performances. Normally I'll speak between each piece and just explain a little bit about its history or my history with the piece. And I find that that really helps in terms of the audience feel like they get to know me. And it makes it so that they have a greater understanding of the pieces and they feel a more personal connection with me and therefore the music.
When you think about your career and your kind of career trajectory, what do you imagine for yourself? What's your ambition right now? You're only 23.
Yeah.
So what do you imagine for your future in the next few years?
Well, it's difficult as a freelance musician to really know where you're going to be going from one year to the next. I love doing solo chamber and orchestral music. I'm a composer. I have one piece published, but I'm going to work at getting my other stuff out there. And it's really just about how many opportunities I'm able to make for myself, how many contacts I'm able to find and maintain.
You have to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. You have to make yourself marketable. And what's difficult for a lot of musicians is you can find your niche in a certain avenue of music where you'll be solely a chamber musician, or you might specialize in Baroque music but not really perform in the others. And for me, I've always loved every aspect of music. I also love doing session music, like going in and recording for film composers and stuff like that. So really it's just about having as many doors open as I can and trying to evolve every facet of my musical ability.
Well, we wish you well in this endeavor. Lindsay, thanks so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can hear Lindsay's recital performed at the NAC next Sunday, April 17th on CBC Radio 2 program In Concert, starting at 11 a.m.